Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast. And we're making our rounds through Chambersburg and Pennsylvania still yet. And it looks like we've got some decent weather here and some really decent company and some old timers in the shed industry, which is my favorite thing. I'll tell you what, if you guys want to just maybe take the time, introduce yourself, a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, this is Jesse Esch, or I'm Jesse Esch from Esch's Storage Barns here in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. My dad started this business back in 1984. I was 2 years old. So, yeah, we're looking forward to this. We appreciate Shannon coming out here and doing this here with us.
So 1984, so we're pretty close. So that means you was born in 82.
82.
So we're about 2 years apart.
Okay.
So that's perfect.
Yeah.
Bill?
82. That was a good year for me. That's when I graduated. I was looking forward to that.
So we're pretty close to in age is what you're saying too, right?
Yeah, right. I've known Jesse for, how many years, Jesse? Help me out here.
I want to say it's got to be about 9 years probably.
I met him through, he raises deer, and I met him through a mutual friend who was trying to get me to go on a hunt, and he did talk me into it, and I met Jesse. Then once he found out what I did, I ran a pretty big car lot for quite a while. He's picking my brain on sales up to and including he wants to meet me for breakfast once a month and just have a breakfast meeting on him and then pick my brains. And then what he didn't know was I worked for a large travel trailer company years ago, and it was actually in charge of production. I was a production manager assistant, so there was four of us, and that ran a plant, and it was fun, and we had about 350 employees, so it was really good at production. And I went out and toured their shop with one of the best guys in the country, and they took like 3-4 pages of notes. We did for them, and they hit the trash. They didn't implement any of them. I was so mad at him. I love the guy and just trying to increase productivity, but they've since handed the shop over to the employees, which is pretty cool, and said, set it up. What's best for you? I read a book about a guy who was in the military, and they had the worst warship in the country, in the United States, and they had war games, and he let his guys set up the ship the way it was efficient for them, and they won that year, and it never had happened in their history. So that's what he did with his guys. He trusted them, and they did a great job in the shop. They're very efficient, and shout out to the vinyl shop and the wood shop. Those boys are excellent. They care. They build a quality shed like it's going in their parents' yard, and we appreciate that. It makes my job easy as a salesperson. I mean, I'm Bill. I've been with the Esches for several years, and we've had bad years. And then I would say that me and Jesse are very good friends. So, and his brother Daniel, I don't get to hang out with him as much. So I still like you, Daniel. All right, a lot.
Well, and Bill's a natural, Jesse, in terms of like he could be running this podcast already. I feel like he
definitely is. And that was, we got to know each other 9 years ago, and he didn't start working for me about 2 years later. And I seen right away what type of this guy. That's why I went out to eat with him. Yeah. I mean, he can eat a lot, but I did pay for his breakfast.
You get into your pocketbook a little bit there on the.
Yeah,
that's all right. So, us sales guys, we sort of enjoy that. You know what I mean? Talking and eating's kind of our thing.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
And it was funny. 2 years later, I'm down in my deer pen feeding my deer, and my cousin was working for me at the time, running up here at the sales lot. He come down and said, there's one of his sales guys is quitting. One of my sales guys here. I said, this is funny. I just yesterday heard that Bill Barling is unemployed. So was like, this is interesting. I've always dreamed to have a Bill Barling working for me. I never thought I could touch him. And I was like, the timing was perfect. So within, I want to say 3 days, we sat down. Bill come over. We sat down, me and my brother Daniel, and we had him hired. So that was, I want to say 7 years ago, and it's been amazing ever since.
What a great story. Like you guys, I just noticed that there's like natural camaraderie here between you guys. Hearing you talk about the shop, I'd really love to see and meet some of the guys at the shop sometime, because it sounds like that's sort of the culture of the whole company. Like you guys are 40 years in. You've got it figured out. You've been doing something right. You're continuing to do something right. It's pretty obvious. And I love the culture. I love just the camaraderie between the two of you guys. And we met through Darren technically. Mm-hmm. So Darren listens to the show, and we were talking, and I told Darren, I said, we ought to get you on here. He all sheds for you. And he's like, well, we'll see. But
Darren's not coming on here. Get us some Facebook pictures, Darren.
But he says, these guys are awesome. You really ought to talk to them. And I just couldn't wait. It worked out perfect. We were coming up to interview in Pennsylvania anyway. So I'm so glad we did. It's just been, we've sat here and talked for a couple hours.
Yeah, you could have did another show.
We could have done a couple of shows out of what we've already discussed. Just because you guys, one, natural conversationalist, but we talked sheds. I mean, the whole time we sat here talking sheds, you'd think that conversation would be used up by now or boring, but the whole time we've sat here and talked about anything from creating different designs to new designs, and bringing back old designs with hip roofs, and just everything, you name it. And it's been really good and fun conversation. So 40 years, Jesse, how did this work? Your dad was building sheds. I mean, you're in Pennsylvania. That's got to be one of the oldest shed manufacturers in Pennsylvania, surely.
My dad moved out from Lancaster and was doing produce at the time, and his father had bought a farm directly across the road from where we live. Actually, my granddad built a house part of the farm, and then at that point it was deeded off. But and then his dad had passed away over that time. Now his mother owned the farm. Dad went across the street in an old implement shed and started building sheds. And he would build a shed, and then he'd go down, hitch up the farmer's horses, pull the shed out of the way, and build another shed. And then the neighbor would come and deliver the shed to the customer. And one thing that Dad jokes about was one of the neighbors, I want to say less than a mile and a half away, had bought a shed. And of course, the delivery guy had a minimum to deliver this shed, and Dad's thinking, okay, surely I can get this shed up the road a mile and a half. And this is a backcountry road, so he got the forklift and some old cart that he had there to throw some 2x4s on. And the cart had swivel wheels in the back. They worked. He had a nightmare trying to get that shed. He come back and decided that $150 to deliver that shed would have been well spent.
I thought you said it was $50.
I'm not sure. I would have said it's $50 or $150.
You told me 50, and you said your dad said I should have spent the 50.
and it was funny here. Just 3 months ago, we had the same situation where we had an old bank barn. This will make Darren laugh. We had an old bank barn that got delivered less than a mile from the shop there. An old bank barn there, and I'm thinking, okay, that's what could I save hauling that building up with? I could hook the mule to. I got to thinking of Dad's little story. I was like, okay, we'll let Darren deliver that building, make his money.
Pay the professional, right?
Well, there's something to be said for doing it cheaper all the time. Sometimes it's money well worth spent. We know that in the quality of sheds, the quality of putting into good equipment, to hauling sheds. This would have been 40 years ago, 1982. What do you reckon that shed cost back then?
Oh, I would have no idea what that what that shed cost. My brother has that numbers in his head. I think he's saying that we used to sell a 12 by 36 for what we now sell a 10 by 16 for.
Wow.
So,
yeah. It's changed. So much has changed. And just the shed world in general, it's matured into a real industry. Me and Bill were talking about how he was in the car business, and the car business leads a lot in the sales of products, because there's so many products that move out. And even though you might own, what do they say, eight cars in your lifetime, I don't know how many sheds you own. I mean, I've owned more than 8 cars. Unfortunately, that's a really
it's
low
not
number
as many as
for
people
me.
own cars. I wish it was. This would be
Right.
a lot easier.
Yeah. So the customer acquisition and things are different, but still, with that being said, it's maturing, and now we've gone from pulling a barn out of the way with a horse to conversations about CRMs like we have here today, and SEO and websites and all these different things. And it's interesting to kind of see, you could do the same thing with equipment. We just saw a new trailer that Pine Hill built whenever we was out there interviewing them. And man, this thing is just amazing, the different things that it can do. So the industry's just going there, right? Like, we're just catching up with the rest of the world, maybe, I guess you'd
one
say.
thing that I usually have to laugh about when I open up one of my dad's brochures, just little 8.5 by 11 brochures. That's what he started his business with. And there was 4 different styles of sheds. And the only difference between 2 of them was one was a 4-foot wall and the other one was a 6-foot wall.
Wow.
I'm thinking, man, wouldn't that be nice? Only having to build 4 different styles of sheds, and 2 of them take the same rafters. Wow.
How many styles do you have now?
I have no idea.
We have a catalog.
Yeah,
we give
we
you.
have a catalog that's a price list. Dad used to have everything on one page, not just the front with the options and everything. Now we have an option page, and it's too full.
Hello from the Shed Geek. Let's take a walk through My Shed 3D. With My Shed 3D, your company can simply add a 3D builder button to its website. Once the customer clicks onto the 3D builder button, they will enter some basic information to get started. Remember, this information is captured in your Leads tab, whether or not the customer designs a building. This is very valuable information that turns a cold call into a warm lead. Next, they begin the design of their shed by selecting a primary use, a style, and a size that best fits their need. My Shed 3D has multiple styles that are available and consistent with traditional and barn styles within the shed industry. However, if you offer a customized or non-traditional style, My Shed Solutions can build that design for future use. We can also save on some design features that make it easy to adjust without a major rebuild or added fees for design changes. For instance, want to offer a steeper roof pitch? Just navigate to the Settings tab. Then click the Building Models. Click Edit Building and just enter the new roof center height, and the design changes will reflect on this style option. This will save you thousands versus traditional design changes that need to build a whole new style to match your design. From here, simply choose the style, siding, and color. Then choose a trim and roofing style and color. Next, let's add a door. That was goofy. Next, let's add a door. It is required to add a door to move forward with the design, as at least one ingress-egress option is necessary. Then add some design changes for personalization. Maybe some windows, or a porch, or some interior shelving. Next, just click Save Design and the customer will receive an automated text with all the features of the design to the email address entered at the beginning. From here, they can edit the design, view the details of the design, pay now to order the shed, or click Rent to Own to complete the necessary steps to purchase a shed they designed with My Shed 3D. The design enters the admin panel as a quote, and this is where the manufacturer can update the progress of the design once a deposit is taken. My Shed, from design to delivery, we have you covered. Yeah, so much. And then, of course, you guys do so much more here, like a lot of shed lots and shed manufacturers. You'll see that we've expanded into so many other things, from play sets and blinds and metal structures and things like that. Bill, do you think it's just, is that necessary today? You can always get somebody to say, well, I don't do that. I just sell sheds and it's fine. And that's always possible. But do you think it kind of makes sense to offer these other products as well?
We look at numbers all the time. We actually track everything we sell. We have one of the things that may help you guys that are listening. We literally have a monthly meeting with the two owners and all the sales staff, and communication. You are Mr. Communication, Shannon. So
doing what we can.
It's everything. So that's helped us tremendously to know where each other stands and actually grow the business. But our bread is sheds. That's our main focus. And then I would say we've done well in the tree stand industry. That gets us through some off-season. Sheds are seasonal. So that really does help pick up the pace. Some of the other stuff we're looking at pretty hard. I mean, do we actually need it? I mean, do we need to take our focus and actually focus and drill down on sheds and the tree stand industry? So that's kind of where we're at. I'm not saying we're giving up this other product, but we do watch the math. And sometimes it just doesn't make sense to stop what you're doing and deliver a swing set in the middle of all the chaos when you're busy. But I don't have to deliver, so it's not much chaos for me. I hand it off. But how you doing, Irvin? He stops his day and delivers. But, I mean, when I first started, that math was helpful. That was prevalent to us. But as we grow our business, some of the stuff is really dwindling down. Yeah. And to me, we could knock some of the stuff out that we do. We probably won't. We enjoy a little bit of everything that we do, but I don't deem it being a necessity at this point. If I looked at math and was outside consultant and come in and say, you guys don't need this, sell sheds and tree stands, and we would survive.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think our focus would be more back on our bread, and I said earlier bread and butter, so I think the tree stands might be our butter. So.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, that's completely accurate from what I hear a lot of other folks say. It's nice to expand, but we really have to think about the bottom dollar. Some companies prefer sheds only. Some companies say, hey, move into these other areas. We're seeing post frame. They do full design on post frame. We're seeing, these big wide span metal buildings anymore. I'm thinking there's probably a shed dealer out there that's getting into red iron pretty soon. I mean, they just really do a little bit of everything. And I wonder sometimes, is the crossover too much or is it not enough? I don't know. Now, all these conversations we've had them here today about tiny homes. What does that mean? RV chassis versus tiny homes versus just something that's affordable. Somebody's looking for almost housing. I mean, next thing you know, I'm over here looking at going to a tiny home trade show, right? Just because there's so many guys that are in our industry, our neck of the woods building, that are kind of crossing over into some of these other areas.
I would say from what I've seen is these tiny homes can be interesting if your guys at the shop don't get frustrated. That's the biggest challenge that I've had. They want to keep the assembly line rolling. Well, here your framers start a tiny house, needs to be completely finished out, and the sheds in front walk away, the sheds behind pow up. And your guys need to be willing to get off the roof, grab a trim nailer, and hang some trim around a window inside. A little different than just slapping some trim on the outside. It's a little different ball game. So if your guys are willing to do that, which I think they are when times are lean, when they're busy, and they can just build one of these cookie cutter sheds, they're going to pick that. So pick your timing, but that's tough. That's tough as a salesman to say, okay, you can sell a tiny home now, but not a month from now. You got to strike when it's hot in the sales world.
Yeah, it's a bit that way. It seems like with all product, but Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. It slows production down pretty tremendously whenever you start getting into that. I mean, you're putting twice the product in on these things. So there's a lot to think about. And I definitely, we took some time to spend with a dealer down in South Carolina. They had a cabin shop, and they kind of talked about that, not just on air, but kind of talked about it with me privately about, is this the best direction to go? Sometimes really just doing a good job on sheds and putting them out there maybe makes a lot of sense, but it is interesting, to each his own. The modular process too, actually going through the state procedures to become an actual builder of modular products, and how you get into code with all the waterworks of everything. It gets very confusing. But it just goes to show the change, Jesse, to me in the industry. What's the biggest thing for you starting out 2 years old? Your dad starts 40 years ago. What's the biggest change that if you identified it in one single category, what would you say is the biggest thing that's changed over time for you?
In 40 years, I would say probably the biggest thing that I've seen that has been a help to Esch's storage barns is making your employees feel part of like Bill mentioned earlier, having your employees design your shop, make it work. Let me rephrase it. If they design it, they're going to make it work. If you design it, they could make it feel, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But,
good word.
And Bill has helped me out with that when he come in to tour our shop to tell us what we need to do, because he had experience there with Fleetwood trailers. I was like, okay, this guy's way out of my league. He wanted to come in and say, hey, you need to have a first and second shift. Like, that doesn't work in the Amish world. We can't survive on 8-hour days.
Yeah.
We need 10, 11-hour days.
They work.
Yeah. So our wives don't have a job, so
right.
we're the only provider in the household. So that was one idea. Although I could see his point, no overtime. Wow. as an owner coming in saying, hey, you need to have first and second shifts. That's 16 hours. And, and I'm like, okay, that's no overtime. You start figuring out what, as an owner, yeah, that makes sense. But I soon seen that doesn't work in the Amish world. So he might think that I didn't take any of his ideas. I did. I chewed on them a couple years, and then I introduced him to. But one that really struck home was have your employees design the shop. And I'm probably a little bit overkill on this. My shop was completely torn apart, the framing in, I want to say probably 3 times in the last 6-7 years. So that can also be frustrating for your employees. They know more and it's a week. It's a week of shutdown, tearing everything apart, redoing it. So take that in consideration. That can be very frustrating for your employees. We just did that 2-3 years ago, and you're doing it again.
Yep.
So a little cautious there, but I've seen it definitely works.
At iFab LLC, our passion is welding, fabricating, and design. That's why in 2015, we began to commercially market our product to the shed, portable building, and mini barn industry. Our product is primarily used to build trusses. Our truss saw system cuts boards in one motion, and our truss press system installs and presses the gusset plates to a finished truss. We custom fabricate jigs that assure perfectly symmetrical truss setup without error. We also have other products designed to help your shed builder increase quality, efficiency, and save money. Our precision door tape will build your custom doors square every time and easily adjust to build any door. For products like these or other custom fabrication services for your barn shop, visit ifabllc.com or call 563-422-7496 or simply email us at ifabllc@gmail.com.
Another thing that I've seen that has really worked is getting a bonus system in for your guys, that your guys' pay is based off of the bonus system. That was one that Bill had told me about. He in the Fleetwood trailers, they done it a little different. They used to have a trailer that when it come to a certain point, they'd throw a big old dollar sign down on the floor, and this went up the assembly line. And Bill said you could just hear that, the nailer just speeding up when it come to that trailer with that dollar sign in it. And it was interesting. They had a week. Bill, I should let you explain that a little bit.
Oh, you're doing good. You're doing good.
They had this that it was a certain dollar value, I want to say, or maybe the trailer. And, you might reach it at Thursday afternoon at 3. That's a really good week if you reached it at Thursday afternoon at 3, because Friday's all bonus, plus part of Thursday's bonus. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe if you reached it at 12 o'clock Friday, it's not quite as good, but you're still in bonus time.
Yeah.
Now, I graduated in 1982, so when that dollar sign went up on that trailer on the roof, once it got to that section, the whole plant could see it. So the whole plant was astir, and it almost looked like that trailer didn't stop. And then each trailer that come through, once we got the windows in and the rock guard on it, we would write the percentage on there, and that's how much more percentage that those employees, those hard sweating workers got paid. And I mean, it was a neat thing to see, and he's implemented something very similar in the shop. So the more productive his guys are, the more they get paid. But keep that in mind, you owners, the more productive they are, the more you get paid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're giving them a bonus, but if they can build 10 more sheds a week than what they were building, that's pretty much free labor if you look at it that way to a degree. So it's pretty neat. And man, I get to go out to a few dinners and cookouts and things that they have through the years, and I can't speak highly enough of every single worker that sweats and does what they do, because I used to do it. Yeah. I worked in the welding shop a lot of my career in the trailer industry, and it'd be 100 and some degrees, and I mean, you're just soaked in sweat, and there was not a lot of people that could do that. I lived in Texas, so hot was nothing to me.
Yeah.
It's like no big deal, So, but no, I just, and they care. That's the difference between, I'm not saying other shed places don't. They don't take it that way. But these boys care.
Yeah.
And the owners care. If we have a warranty issue, and we have one of the best shed warranties in the industry, we really do. And because of the quality, we're not scared to extend that warranty out there 10 years on our Silverline shed. But if something happens after that, I've never seen them one time say, what's out of warranty? We go out and look at it. They go out and look at it, I should say. I'm in here trying to sell another shed. But they go out and look at it, and they don't try to look for a reason not to fix it. They usually fix it. We had a shed that the customer said was leaking, and Daniel went out and looked at the shed in a rainstorm, and it wasn't leaking. And the guy can't show us where it's leaking. And he called in again and said it was leaking. And Jesse and Daniel got together and myself and said, let's build him a brand new shed and just go get that one. And we'll sell it. We'll resell it. And so when he called, I made him that offer. He never took us up on it. The offer to me as a sales guy and a sales manager, it went miles.
Yeah.
Think about it. Here the owners are willing to go get a shed that's used and give him a brand new shed at no cost, no haul, no strings attached. Just make this guy happy. And it just, I mean, I want to sell for these guys. I want to help grow the business. I want to increase our presence out there. So it's just a neat place to be with these guys. I appreciate them so much.
Do you think companies don't place maybe enough emphasis on what you're talking about? I saw, I don't know, something on maybe Facebook that said your greatest asset in your company is your employees, because if you spend more time taking care of your employees, they'll spend so much more time doing stuff without seeking reward all the time.
I have seen that dramatically in the last couple of years there. Your your employees, they feel included in, they feel like a team part of. And I would say, two things that have triggered that I feel is the letting them fix this or redo the shop, and the bonus system. That tells them exactly where their labor was for that shed. Could it be tweaked? Yes, I want to tweak a little bit, but it was a good start. And my brother at one point wanted to throw it out and redo it, and I was like, no, we can't. We've come miles. We want to tweak it. We want to tweak it a little bit to make it work, but it's a good format to start from. So, yeah, I would highly encourage that. And if there's anybody that wants information on that, I'll gladly share anything with them on that bonus system, because I have seen it completely turn my shop around.
What a great testimony to that. And Bill, you come in with just this wealth of experience, both with Fleetwood, but you come from the car industry. What's one of the obvious things that you'd notice that's a little different in the shed industry than the car industry? You kind of talked about, there was a group that you were in, and I appreciate your kind words on communication. We try to not just spread communication, but comprehension. Like sometimes communication doesn't necessarily happen, but or it always happens, but comprehension doesn't. So we're big on education too. We want to make sure everybody knows. You were talking about like being in a group of car dealers that didn't compete, but like bettering themselves. You know what I mean? By having some collaborative efforts. You want to speak on that?
Yeah, I do. It was very interesting once I got in the management side on the car industry. They do something different than I've ever seen. They have what they call a 20 group. So they'll fly you to Florida, let's say, or someplace that you don't get to go in the car world, because you're busy. It's like having two jobs. So they would fly 20 dealers out there, and you would commit, and we would literally share financial statements. We were non-competing dealers, which was neat. So you could become friends, and you could tell them all your trade secrets. And let's say somebody was knocking it out of the park with used cars, and there was a dealer that was really weak in that area. He could pick your brain and look at your financial statements and actually what you made, and you could help that guy grow. We had one in particular guy who was going bankrupt, and I just had an opportunity one evening at supper to pray with him and coach him and just not let him give up. And it was just a neat place to be. Some guys were terrible on the finance end. They weren't making any money, on the finance end. We have RTO, rent to own, with these sheds, and there are ways that you can make money with the rent to own as a dealer. If you're a customer listening to this, we don't get a dime off the rent to own, except we might get a small kickback from the guy that's doing it. But in the car world, it was a little different. You would get a little bit of a percentage from the bank every time. And some guys were just terrible at it. They couldn't sell the customer warranty, so we could coach them through. I would love to see that in the shed industry. Now, my goodness, we got some really good builders in our area up here. We really do. But to invite them in, have a coffee, and share everything would be scary local, right? Because, hey, they got to pay bills, so do we, and we like them. But it's different when you're outside and you're talking to somebody that is never going to bump heads with you on a shed or car, and you can be open, honest, and truly share and help them grow. And it was really one of the sharpest things I was involved in the car world. So I think that's something that you, Shannon, can bring to the table.
Well, definitely something that we want to spread communication. We want to spread education, because to me, the more educated you are on a situation, the better decision you can make as a whole. I kind of feel like for me, you're just seeing the shed industry move even today in different areas. It's trying to grow and morph into a bigger industry, if you will, and it's getting more organized. And in some cases, you're seeing everything from, small mom and pop who even sometimes want to stay there, to you're seeing like these larger organizations, and you're seeing what happens at the second, third generation, fourth generation if somebody's not coming along to kind of take over the family business. Are they selling out? Are people taking more market share? Are they taking more market share because they're expanding with the way that the industry is going, whether it be automation in building, or whether it be more digital in sales, or whether it be just bigger equipment in hauling? I mean, the size of some of these sheds that are moving. I know you guys are here in PA, so I don't know how big they get here, but I mean, I'm hearing like 18 by 70, I think recently was one of the biggest ones.
We do a 28 wide, and it depends on Darren, how long we haul, but we can haul up to 40 feet. We can do longer than that if we hire an outside guy to haul it, but very seldom do we ever do that. But we bring it in pieces like a modular home, so we can do 28 wide, 24 wide's pretty common. We do 2 stories, very unique, and it's not just a shed anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, and back to the tiny homes, I mean, we're battling a little bit with the shop, and Jesse said, one of my jobs that I feel I have is I want to keep these guys busy.
Yeah.
I take it home with me. I take it real serious, and I want to keep them productive and working all winter. Where some shops die off in the winter, they're usually building stock for me right now. That hasn't happened yet, which I've got more sheds than I need right now going into the winter season, but we've got them scheduled out with some really big jobs right now, which now they're thinking, maybe we don't want these jobs. But what I want them to hear loud and clear is I care about you, and I want to keep you busy.
Managing your rent-to-own contracts just got easier with RTO Smart. Designed by leaders in the rent-to-own storage industry, RTO Smart was handcrafted to enable you with the tools needed to manage your own contracts your way without using a third-party rent-to-own company. RTO Smart is your one-stop shop, allowing you to generate contracts and manage customer accounts from start to finish while maintaining simplicity and flexibility. Call us today at 316-618-9396 or visit our website at rtosmart.com to schedule a live demo and discover why RTO Smart may be right for your business. So you guys told me a little bit about, you talked about this earlier, about creating sort of like this buzz or this atmosphere within the culture of the company. But you guys were telling me a really cool story. I wanted to get on the air here talking about creating sort of a new design. And this is just creativity at its best. This is what I love. You guys talked about having a couple of your builders just create this new design, and you're going to see how it performed.
So yeah, what I did there, or what we did, was I'm the type of person I want to have something new, get a little bit of excitement, just to, like he said, create some buzz there. So my brain was spinning, and I was like, "What?" This was a year ago, I guess, when I thought this up, beginning of the year there. I wanted a whole year contest here. So I'm like, okay, what can I do here? So I chewed on it, and I was like, okay, we got to have all the employees, get them a competition. And at the same time, I wanted to get some different shed designs for Esch's storage barns. And, what I've found in the past is if one guy's coming up with all the ideas, they tend to sort of follow each other. We were talking earlier about, how you eat in this area. They eat, you'd mentioned a heavy creamer. Everybody in this area uses a heavy creamer. And I've seen that over the past. I used to be the one coming up with all the, during the winter, we're doing all the stock. We're building stock, and I'd write the colors down. Well, after a while, you can't get the blues out of your head, or you can't get the grays out of your head. It's one or the other. You forget about all these nice shades of brown over here. And one year I did this, this goes back 5-6 years ago. I left the guy's design, or not just, this was just the colors. You could build a shed and put your own colors on it. And the first shed that sells got $150. And Darren, I think Darren or Danny won that one.
It was Darren.
Yeah, Darren won that one, which he probably hold his up first. I'm kidding, Darren. But no, it was amazing to me how there's a color that I use a lot today that come from one of them colors that I'd have lived to be 100 and never thought of them colors. I'd be like, that doesn't go together. And there's one of them that is in my calendar there. We were at our banquet there. Alvin said that he come up with that color. That's in my calendar. It's in every brochure that I made. So it was just interesting. Okay, different ideas. So that's sort of the thought process that I started there a year ago, was how can I take that and bring value to our company? So I took that and like, okay, that color idea 5 years ago definitely worked. How can we go to the next level? So, okay, let's let them think of a design. And I told the team at the shop, it's got to be approved. I didn't want to have, we talked about tiny homes coming. I didn't want somebody to think of some elaborate something. Oh man, there's another George shed coming through the shop. Yeah. Man, the last one was not fun. So I took that on considering. I was like, everyone's got to be approved by the team, but there was no limits other than that. And I said, if there's one that's, let's say there's one as in between a Moe's shed and a Danny shed, and I said, I don't want to be involved. There was 5 in the contest. You vote on it. Whichever gets it, you vote on it. Go ahead, Bill.
So when he says Moe's shed and Danny shed, so the Moe's shed we call pool house shed, but Moe's designed it. The Danny shed, it's a 2-story gambler roof barn. Danny designed it. So when he says Moe's shed, Danny shed, that's what he's talking about.
That's what that is, yeah. So the guys got all excited about it. It was amazing. My brother called me up, said, you created some hype. I'm like, okay, this is perfect. That's what I wanted to do. So of course, some of the employees were more excited than the next, but I could see the excitement in the shop. So I want to say these sheds come up probably March. They were all up here at Chambersburg. We lined them up, and when we call them first we called them the competition sheds. And then I thought, well, that doesn't really sound right, meaning that they might be my competition's design. So we called them the contest sheds. And yeah, right on the price list, they were called Moe's shed, Danny shed. And it was funny. Customers come in, Moe's shed, yep, and then Bill would have to tell them the story. And for the prize, it was my brother David, which runs my painted shop. He come up with a point system. First, I had thought it's just going to be a shed count, the guy that sells the most sheds. But then I was like, what if a guy makes a little 4x4 doghouse and sells 50 of them and wins the prize? So David come up with a point system. It was so much for dollar value and so much for per shed. And Moe's, he come to me and with his design, and I was like, I don't know if I really like that design, but it's your choice. I actually tried to discourage you. I'd like, man, I want this to be excited, but I don't think, an old hip roof design. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. Thank goodness he didn't listen to me. He had a focus. He just, he don't know what he's talking about. I'm going to go forward with this. And we were selling Moe's sheds a lot this summer. And all of a sudden, Danny shed, in September, Bill sold his first Danny shed. Danny's shed was a big 2-story barn style with a dormer out the side, a pretty big price tag on it. And September, Bill sold his first Danny barn, and I think we sold 4 last year. So here, right at the last lap, here comes Danny and just blows Moe's right out of the water. So it was funny. And then the prize was I had told them I'm going to get them a rifle, a brand new rifle there. And then in the meantime, my Uncle John started making flintlock muzzle loaders. And I had ordered one back in, I want to say last winter, maybe last spring. I had ordered one, and I took him a piece of wood that I had cut up at my property, my hunting property there, and actually took it sawmills, got a sawmill, cut this chunk of wood out myself. My cousin, he killed and dried it, and then we took it to John there, and he made this beautiful flintlock muzzle loader, and then I decided to throw that in on the prize too. So yeah, just little stuff like that can go miles with your employees, just to create a little bit of excitement.
Created a really nice culture, a really nice, brings everybody together. You know, you're working day in and day out. You don't want to come into the same thing. Like you said, just stepping outside of the box for a moment, realizing that you're the only one creating inventory. You may be putting the same thing out there over and over and over. Not every customer is the same. So you may not be able to reach a different customer just because you're not offering those colors or hadn't thought to put that out in the inventory. I love the whole story. What's beautiful is being able to sit here and talk with you guys and get sort of even off camera, off air, like this real grassroots kind of story and conversation about how the culture in the shop works, how everybody works together toward the common goal. And 40 years in business, you're seeing that all these years later. Where's it go now? Where does the Esch's go from here? Where's the shed industry going? I'm curious at you guys' thoughts on that.
You start, Jesse.
I'm predicting a little bit of a down year this year, just because we come out of all the stimulus money. So I think it's I call it the men from the boys. Sometimes you need a little bit of hard times to figure out who's the tough. I'm trying to think of the phrase.
Who's going to stick around?
Get going.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. I think we're coming to that point where it will be, if you don't think a little bit outside of your box, get a little bit out of your comfort zone, you're gonna have a little hard time keeping your employees busy over the next year or two. Is my thought. So I would say I have an uncle that works, sells some sheds there, and he brought an interesting point one time. He was like, back in 07, 08, there, which I think every shed builder can remember that. They sell sheds for a lot of guys in Lancaster. They'd come to them with these elaborate designs, and they were like, nope, we don't want to build them. Come 09, these shed shops would come up, hey, do you still have that in need of that shed? It completely flipped. And that's what happens when there's lean times. You're going to have to learn to say, yeah, we can do that, instead of, nope, I'm good. I think that's going to go miles here in the next year or two is my thought. Bill, what do you think?
Well, I was talking earlier when you went out to help load tree stands up. Thank you.
Yeah,
and
a lot of people don't know, even during this interview, that's the example of hard work. You got tree stand order going out, 5 orders going out, and Jesse runs out and hops on the skid steer. Next thing you know, we're right back at it. So you guys are none the wiser. Jesse's been working this whole time.
These salesmen, they need to be flexible. Get off of that chair, get out there, load up a couple boxes, sweat a little bit, come back in, write up another deal.
Get him, Jesse, get him.
But I was talking earlier about, I didn't use the word, but diversity, being able to do what Jesse says. What does the customer want? What will they buy? What will they write a check for? And keeping the guys in the shop busy and working through these leaner times, especially through the winter. So my thought is be open-minded if you're a builder and an owner, because us sales guys, all of us aren't built to just jam a building on somebody because they can. That's definitely not my forte. I want to give them something that they're going to get years of use from. And some of these, I don't really want to call it tiny home, but, we're finishing insides, and they're beautiful when they're done. Absolutely gorgeous. That I enjoy helping people get that dream on an off-grid property or even in the backyard. But if the guys don't enjoy building it, they have to take a deep look at what our jobs are, is keep them busy, keep a paycheck coming, keep the shop full at all times, and I get it. In the spring and summer, let's build those cookie cutter sheds. If, you can only build a box so many ways, right? And pick our timing to schedule those bigger, harder builds in more of an off season. But we are seeing a market for it and a change. And but I mean, what's coming down the pike? I've been with this guy for several years, and we've grown, tremendously. It's exciting, and we're always looking for the next step. What is the next thing we need to do to grow again? That's what I wanted to ask you, Shannon. What's the next magic button we push to take it to the next level? What's the next product that the shed industry brings in that nobody's thought about? You talk to the world on these things, and we do value your opinion. We picked up the redneck hunting blinds here several years ago, and we sell a county line hunting blind that's wood, and it's tremendous. I mean, the guy does an excellent job, Jesse, and the builder of friends, Irvin Esch, and that's been fun because we hunt. And Jesse's an okay hunter. No, he's actually a really good hunter.
My buck was bigger than yours.
It was, but I let it go. His brother missed the buck that we think he shot, which is comical as all get out. And Jesse ends up just he got more game pictures than he does of his family. But he figured him out, and he ended up getting him. But we think Steven missed that deer or one close to it. And anyways, but no, we enjoy talking to hunters, and I have a 24x40 they built for me shed, and I love it. Every time I go in that shed, I'm like, man, I'm just amazed at the quality and the workmanship. And, did they actually put a little more love in it because it was mine? No, that's how they build your shed, and that's what's neat about the company. So, but I don't know we think about this stuff all the time, me and Jesse, and we talk a lot about it. What is next? What is the next major thing that a shed builder can do, a shed seller can do to take this thing to the next level?
I'll cut in a little bit. There's one that I just thought of that has helped us a lot that we'll share here. Bill, when we had the interview with Bill there, remember, I never thought I could touch him. His pay, he's worth a lot. I just
he likes to eat, and he
he's
costs
out
a
of
lot
my
of
caliber.
money. Just call it what it is.
Yep, exactly, yep. So I was like, you're going to have to bring other ideas to the table. In other words, you're going to have to pull your own wagon.
Yeah.
And one thing that he brought was, do you do pads? And I was like, no, we have a guy that does pads. Well, do you get a spiff? No, we don't get a spiff. I don't think we were at the time. And he was like, you've got to. You're taking your time. This guy's been advertising. Don't come free. You're advertising for it. You got to. So, we ended up getting a spiff of this. And then I want to say in 2020, we put our own truck and trailer on the road with a little Avant there, putting in shed pads. That has been a big success where it's more of a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking, who wants to go out and buy a shed and be on the way home? They're all excited, and all of a sudden this hits them. Honey, we got to go home and call 5 excavators to get a price on a pad. Or they leave Esch's and they're going home. You know what? We got a pad coming next week and the shed the following week. Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go out for supper. There's they're excited the whole time. That has gone miles, and we price them right. Bill sells them a pad right here at their desk.
Well, and what's beautiful about that is you're kind of in control of your own destiny there. You're not relying like on this other site prep company to discourage or in your sale. Bill, I'll touch on that. It's a perfect segue into sort of what I do a lot of times at the end of the shows, which just allow people to turn the mic around, ask some questions, whether it's podcast related, shed related, whatever the discussion is. And, a lot of times you can't always have something new and inviting and constant that's always on the horizon. What we do is pretty simple. Like you said, we build boxes, we sell them. But what's the difference in doing that same thing and being a $1 million a year sales company and a $150 million a year sales company? Should you choose to want to grow, and if that's the mentality that you're in and the season that you're in to want to grow, what sets that apart? I don't know that there always has to be a new and best thing, but I will tell you selfishly, there's a reason why we kind of jumped into the marketing side, not just because of conversations I've had for the last 10 years with shed guys, but starting to see this maturing industry run into a place where they're starting to meet the rest of business and how consumers decide to shop. It's amazing how brick and mortar is still very valuable. I don't take anything from it. Referrals are still extremely valuable. And if you're not doing anything in marketing, I'm not telling you you're not going to make it. What are you leaving on the table? It becomes the question. What are you leaving on the table? And are you taking more market share? Because it's almost kind of inevitable that guys are going to just continue to open up shed lots, and market share is going to get thinner. And I think the cream's going to rise to the top as you begin to put work into your sales process, your marketing process, your automations through your building process, increasing efficiencies in your hauling process. So I'm not a shed hauler, and I'm not a shed builder. I have done both of those things, but they're not my strong point. But I did well in sales. And I still say I'm not even the best salesperson out there. I meet so many of them that are greater than me all the time on these trips. Yeah, Bill included. Absolutely.
I made a little hand motion there.
If they're better, you hire them. That's all that I can say.
There you go.
If they're better than you hire them. That's
So,
what I did with Bill.
There doesn't always need to be something new, but to answer your question, what's coming around the corner, I think that people say online sales, and then I have to say, well, what does that mean to you? Or people say marketing, and I say, well, what does that mean to you? Explain it to me so that if you know more about it, I can learn. And if I see that you don't know more about it, I can teach. That's how iron sharpens iron, I think. So like you have to be willing to listen and you have to be willing to talk. And you just got to hear when you're supposed to do which one. We get it wrong a lot, don't we? We talk when we ought to be listening, and it seems like we don't listen enough. And so I think there's a reason I went toward marketing in what we're doing. It's because I just saw the vulnerability that so many companies have where they've left their self. They may not own their URL on their website, and they're really getting taken advantage of over here in this situation, or somebody's selling them a line of goods on this saying, hey, we can do all this, do all that. Our attitude, Bill, is like, we'll do our best. We'll give you all the information we got. We'll break it down to you, show you how it works and all that. We're educators. And then if it doesn't work, we'll give it our best effort, shake your hand at the end of the day and say, we gave it our best. If there's someone out there that can do better, you should use them. Right. So we're going to take that approach to every area of business. There's probably a bit of a change that needs to happen, or I don't know if it needs to happen, but could happen even in the RTO side of things.
So you're like a sheducator.
A sheducator. I like the term.
Right.
Yeah. Sheducation. I think LP has that in their bag. I know my friend Joe Nito goes around and does like the sheducation, but yeah, we do. We want to talk about all of the details of it, from your sales process, even trying to perfect your sales process, your follow-up process, all of these things. So change, I don't know if it's going to be new designs. I don't know if it's going to be new hauling equipment. I don't know if it's going to be automation in the industry, or if it's going to be marketing, but we're kind of throwing our hat into the marketing side, because as you're creating a digital storefront, there's all of these other things that need to be included. I have people call up and say, we need a website, and say, okay, well, it's X amount of dollars. And I say, well, we need it to show up first on Google. And then you have to say, well, wait a minute. Now you're talking about two different things.
Hi, I'm Dylan from the Shed Geek marketing team, and I want to address a common misconception about marketing. Often people approach us for just one service, like social media management, where we plan and schedule your monthly posts. While this is a valuable time saver, it's just one piece of your complete marketing strategy, much like a shed with its various components. Let's simplify it. Think of your social media channels and Google My Business as the foundation, similar to the runners of a shed. They support your digital storefront, your website, which is like the floor joists and band boards. To enhance your marketing, you'll need tools like Google Analytics, Facebook Pixel, and Google Tags, which are like the walls. These tools help track the success of your campaigns, measuring form submissions, 3D shed creations, and phone calls generated by our ads. Now, let's talk about the roof. Meta and Google ad campaigns. These are the top layers that complete your marketing shed. While you may inquire about one specific service, remember, they all contribute to the overall structure of your marketing strategy. At Shed Geek Marketing, we're happy to work on one individual aspect, but our goal is to build a comprehensive marketing shed that will truly stand out in the digital landscape. If you're ready to talk about your marketing strategy that will take your shed business to the next level, just go to shedgeek.com and fill out a submission form or contact the Shed Geek for more information.
But yeah, just to kind of elaborate on what I was saying, there's a reason we sort of jumped into that, just because I think that we're educators first, and then we're trying to get people to sort of understand what that is. If you're creating a digital storefront, imagine creating a brick and mortar land like storefront. You're trying to get it on a busy highway. You want to get more people to see it. So it's the same thing with like your online presence. And I'm not a doomsday kind of guy. I'm not like, oh no, you'll never make it without this. Instead, I look at it more from the perspective of what are you leaving on the table if not. So if you're seeking growth, there's a lot more that you can do, because you can get in front of a whole host of people. If you serve 100-mile radius, all those people don't drive by your 100-mile, within 100 miles, don't drive by your lot every day. But most of them are on social media or on a website, or they're searching for that. And then you've just got to figure out that component. So we jumped into it for that reason. I feel like we got the right guys that are helping. There's now 7 people on that team, and it's going as good as we could hope for it to go. And we want to do more of it, but we want to be respectful in the process. And, yeah. So to answer your question, I don't think there always has to be something new necessarily, but I try to keep my pulse on all of it, Bill, as best I can.
I think that's great. What was going through my mind when you were talking about that was I see a lot in the industry where I call it don't let a pebble stop a freight train. You know, there's a lot of times when you go out, you think about, you want to do this thing, and you have this vision, and there's this one small little object that is keeping you from doing this. Like, don't let a pebble stop a freight train.
Yeah.
That you'll blow right by that pebble and not even know it. Get a focus on what you want to do. Like you mentioned, marketing. Marketing is a big part of it. You know, your delivery guy, I feel, is just as big. We've found that, Bill, with, I mean, they
love Darren.
Yeah.
They love Darren. They love you,
It's a
Darren.
huge part of the process.
Yeah,
He's
real. He's the friendliest guy that you ever meet delivering a shed. So sorry, guys.
It's the last experience the customer has, and a lot of times with your company. So like if they're in there grumpy and everything else, you know, that it doesn't go across well because they've had a pleasant experience until then. But if your hauler comes in and leaves them with a really good experience, and I see that in testimonials with like the Facebook group, like the Shed Hauler Facebook group, they talk about, hey, we got tipped or we got this or whatever, just because of.
And he never leaves ruts in your yard. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I want to say this for you guys, and we'll wrap up. But I want to say we visit a lot of places, and you guys are doing it well. You're doing it great, and I think you're just going to continue to make tracks and expand and things like that. And I'm happy to know you, gotten to know you.
And same to you, Shannon.
It's been fun. We try to keep it very real, and we were a little bit like, I'm going to say this on air. I think, we were talking about the nerves initially. I don't know what your experience like after coming on. It not as bad as what you thought.
It was great. I'm finally getting comfortable.
Yeah.
Is it over already?
We could talk for another couple hours, couldn't we? You know what? Maybe we'll do this every year or every 2 years, come back and say hey. And I just appreciate it. It means so much that you guys would listen, that you would come on, that you would offer value to other people's day. I'm a big fan of remembering that God puts us in the places that we are, and without him, we would have nothing. So we may not do it every time, but I definitely feel like maybe we should just say a quick prayer and closing, if that's okay?
It is. I just want to thank Deanna and Troy. You know, Troy's outside prison and his little hands off there. Nina's over there working. So, but they coming in an RV. We actually thought he may have flew in and rented a car, but he's here with his family, and that's how it should be. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'd love for you to close in prayer.
What a fun thing to be able to do. You know, spend time with my family. It means the world to me. This is the funnest job I've ever had, if you can call it a job. It's the funnest job I ever had, and I'm thankful to do it, and I'll do it as long as I'm allowed, right? I'll do it as long as I'm allowed. So, Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to meet new friends and just to conversate and build your community through conversation. That's our goal, is to point toward you and all that we've been given and all that we continue to do. Let us not forget that in a world that is stretched in so many different directions, that we can have clarity of mind and just know that you are in charge of all things and all that we do, and you are a sovereign God. So we thank you for that, that you offer the clarity to us through that. Ask that you would bless the businesses here represented today on the show, but also those listening, make them profitable, encourage them through culture and through building community. We just ask that you'd offer up the hedge of protection we so often ask for and request, and we hope that you will do that for us, provide safety for our builders, for our haulers, and just provide clarity for all that we're doing as we move forward, make for a better process for customers, and in the process building your kingdom. So we thank you, give you honor and glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford in sunny Union Grove, North Carolina, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.